Hello, stranger.
Hello, how are you doing?
Long time no see. How you doing?
Not too bad. Panicking slightly because things aren't quite working, but never mind.
I mean, it wouldn't be a Drupal Meetup if something wasn't going on.
Well, we've never live streamed before, so I have done some live streaming, but I haven't set up my own kit in this way for a couple of years either. So,
Yeah. Good luck, no face.
let's just see. How you doing? Sorry? Good. I'll chat a little bit later if you don't mind. I'm just trying to check that this is all working, and then we'll.
Good luck.
I saw you probably near there.
Yes. Yes, I did interview with these. That's, yeah, 6 months ago. Tracking tickets.com, we're based in Brixton. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he's actually back. He's actually, so he left. He come back and years and years. Now he's starting again.
It's streaming, but I'm not sure about the audio. I just wanted to be able to. This is a new phone. You can't plug one of these in, can you? That sounds like
The microphone is
hang on. No, it's here. There's a 20-second delay there, so I'll just do some. Sounds likely. Let's do the proper thing. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yep. We'll just do a quick camera screen. This is the control studio.
Yeah.
So this is on YouTube, and you expect to see a delay there. It can be a slightly different delay. Whereas this is the place where we could mix.
No, I'm just checking when he's gonna.
I may just stick. See, there you go. Let's go. Well, I think
Are you too?
That's it. There's more of a delay on this, yeah. Because this is like the super user logged in to see a preview. Anybody else would probably have a longer delay. So this is just a normal viewer.
Ah, okay, so we need to realize this.
Yeah, and you'll see there it says currently 4 viewers, but that's one for the super user, one for this, and then 2 other people. Okay, great. So it's taking the audio just from this. That's good enough.
Just a quick question. Do you know if you can actually manage to stream that somehow?
Yes. We are streaming.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, literally the last few seconds we've got it going.
Amazing.
We're just starting.
Just to let some friends know.
Did you see any of the? I sent a notice on the London Drupal user group this morning. Last night maybe.
I'm not sure I'd actually check this.
Okay.
But I'll let them know because it's one of my friends like they really enjoyed it.
And we should be recording it as well. I think. I'm pretty sure we're the recording section. Okay, I'm going to put this back at the front. I can't seem to get the slides working at the moment. That's fine. I can do it on camera.
Some good like massive worried about like how is this lot because it's not a project. Not new pages, it's really nice about DevOps. Actually, I've just plugged the feed into the laptop as well. And it's supposed to be splitting through some HTML. So then we say, instead we'll try and we'll handle everything. And it's way more money than using it as a retainer. It's so much. They don't have a southern bill or
I'll tell you a little bit about the Children's Society. So we're a UK-based charity. We're 140 years old this year. The basic idea behind what we do is that every young person deserves a good childhood. So much of our work is led by what young people tell us that they need, and young people are having issues that young people are having problems with. We support a wide range of children, mostly older children throughout the UK, especially those who are in danger of abuse, various types of exploitation, neglect, low well-being, certain mental health issues. So we try to address multiple issues that young people are facing to improve their lives. We do that through direct practice, so one-to-one counseling with young people and other activities, campaigning for legislation that can change young people's lives and the laws that impact them, advocacy, and also some research. Our research is one of our biggest priority areas. So every year we do a report called the Good Childhood Report, which comes out usually in the end of summer. And it just focuses on young people's well-being. And again, it's all based on things that young people tell us. It's a really interesting report. We've been doing it for over 15 years now. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, you can. You can visit one of our Drupal sites. We've been using Drupal here at the Children's Society for 12 years now, since 2011. We have 3 sites today that are on Drupal 9. Our main site, which is childrensociety.org.uk. We also have a newish Drupal commerce site. It's less than a year old, called Give Hope, which is a site for purchasing virtual gifts for young people. Also, we're developing a new well-being resource for young people. We're doing some testing with that right now, so it's not yet publicly available. But yeah, so we've got 3 Drupal 9 sites, soon to be Drupal 10 towards the end of the year. And once again, it's very nice to have you all here. That's all I've got. I'm going to hand it over to Vincenzo. Yes.
Hello everyone, and thanks for coming. This session will be regarding Drupal and OpenAI for content editors. My name is Vincenzo Gambino. I've been developing with Drupal for 13 years now. I've been a speaker at different Drupal camps, and I'm also the co-author of the book Jamstack Development. In this session, we're going to see what is OpenAI. We're going to see just what is, and then what is ChatGPT. We're going to go through a few Drupal modules that integrate Drupal and ChatGPT. Then we're going to see a demo, and then at the end, the Q&A. The OpenAI is a company, it's a private company. Their target was to develop, maintain, and control a safe artificial intelligence, general intelligence for the benefit of humanity. They did it, and they created this generative AI, and can be used through models. The models are DALL-E, for example, is a model that can generate and edit images. Whispers, which is a model that can convert audio into text and can also translate audio from any languages into English, into text as in English. Then we've got embedding, which is a set of modules that convert text into numerical forms. Basically means that you can use for searching for categories, categorization, because it's going to find the relevance between 2 words. Then we have the moderation, which is a model that can detect if a text may be sensitive or unsafe, is it regarding hate or racism or other things. And then we have the GPT model that I think all of us will be comfortable with. And basically is a model that can understand human language. The GPT stands for the Generative Pre-trained Transformer, and is designed to generate a human-like text for conversational settings. Is it used for a chatbot and virtual assistants? It can generate content and translate content or summarize, which is what we are going to see in this demo. And then can translate as well. It can create dynamic storytelling and can provide personalized recommendation based on user preferences. How do we interact with the GPT model? We can do it through the application ChatGPT, or we can do it through the API. The API key concept are the prompts, which basically is the text that you provide to ChatGPT. So basically the command, the instruction. So for example, talk me about Drupal, or how much is 2 + 2, for example. Then there are the tokens, that is a unit of text that the language model reads and process. So basically a token is around 4 characters long. And then we have the modules, which what we've seen before. The prerequisite is we need to have an OpenAI account, we need an OpenAI key, API key, and the payment method. In this demo, we're going to see the completion endpoint. So it's a post, and this is the URL. And the body contains a model, the one you want to use, the prompt, so the command you're going to pass, the max token you're going to be between the request and the response, and then the temperature. The temperature is basically how the precision of the answer from GPT. For 0 is something standard. If you put it higher, GPT will be like more creative. This is an example call. So we have the model, we have the prompt, and then the max token and the temperature. And of course, we have the barrier token, the API key. And this is the response. So we got back the model, the date, the object, and then the text, and then the usage. So we have the prompt tokens, the completion tokens, and the total tokens. So how Drupal and OpenAI can interact? The first model we're going to talk about is the OpenAI model, which provides a suite of modules that can generate content, images, do analysis, and search. On this demo, we're going to see the CK editor, the OpenAI content tools, and the ChatGPT module. So we install it as usual with Composer, and we enable the OpenAI. And at this point, we're going to generate on our OpenAI account the API key. So we create a new secret key. We give a name. We copy it and we paste it into the configuration in Drupal. And then we also need the organization ID. So we go into the settings and we add the OpenAI key and the organization name. After that, we're going to install the CK editor module in the same way. And basically, the modules provides a button for OpenAI to connect to the CK editor, and the editor can then use it. So first of all, we add the button from available button to the active toolbar. We set it, so we enable it. We give the model, the temperature, and the max token to be used. And after that, the button is available to be used. So we have the option at the moment to text completion, adjust tone and voice, summarize, translate. So let's see the text completion. So we click on the button and the pop-up will show. So I'm going to write, tell me the history of Drupal, and it will generate the text. So then we can change the tone, for example. It can be done on a partial part of the code of the text on the whole body. And then, for example, tell me like I'm 5 years old, and the text will change. And it's also possible to summarize it again, or part of the text, or the full text, the full body text. We can also translate it. So we have the text written, and then we translate in another language. And then the OpenAI content tools submodules provides is experimental. So it provides on the right hand side of the node edit form, provides other buttons like changing tone, summarize, and suggest taxonomy. So we enable again the module. And this is what we are going to see on the right hand side of the node form. So we tried the suggest taxonomy. So based on the body field of the content, it will generate some taxonomy. So how we can extend the OpenAI module? OpenAI module use the OpenAI PHP client, which is a package in packages. And we need, of course, to call the class, then we completion method, and then we create, we pass the module and the prompt. And the result will be in the array, or the result choices 0 and text. So this is how it works in Drupal in the OpenAI CK editor module. So we have again the client, the completion, so we pass the module from the configuration. We pass the prompt from the pop-up we saw. We pass the temperature, again comes from the configuration, and the max token as well. Then we convert into array, and then we have the response. The other modules is the ChatGPT content assistance module. It's a lightweight module and provides just create content and translate content translation. So we install it as usual. We enable it. We add the configuration again, and then we add the configuration here. And then we find this link on the content edit form in the node creation. So we click on the link, it opens a pop-up. We ask for the history of the Drupal, and it generates the content. And when we click use this content, it will add it directly in the body. The translation works again from the translation button. You can just click on translate using ChatGPT, and it will translate. The moment it translates all the text fields, so title, body, and any other text field that you add, it will be done automatically. And of course, you can extend it as you want. It does not use an external package, so it uses its own method, its own class and method. So we have the GPT API class, and then we have the method get response. We pass the prompt text, and we get the response. So I'm going to show a quick demo. So this will be the OpenAI module. So we have text completion. We ask so this module is still in alpha, and is missing some UI basically. So at the moment is doing something. It doesn't look like, but maybe we can just add a spinning wheel or something. So now through this prompt, basically now it's talking to GPT, coming back and paste the content into the body. So these are like demos, so it's always a little bit of risk on. Have
you clicked it?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So now it has generated the content. So this is the history of Drupal. Then, of course, we can see the other buttons again. We're going to just check the translation button, for example. So I select it all, and I can, for example, translate it. I can put it in another language, perhaps. And now again, it's sending the request to an OpenAI, coming back and paste it into the node form. It's taking a bit of time, sorry.
What is the three other?
Oh, this is the Grammarly. I forgot to switch it off, and for the errors here, because it's set up on the British language here. Yeah, let me try to do it again. Let's do it on a smaller part, maybe. Okay, so it did it. Maybe it was the previous one. So now it translates the whole content into Italian. I will save it. will put it back into English so we can test the other translation. We save it. Now, if I edit it, now that we have some content, we can see the content tools on the right-hand side. So again, here, we can adjust the tone of the content. We can summarize the whole text, and it will be shown here, or we can suggest taxonomy, for example. For example, based on the body, we can suggest taxonomy. So it's giving me back those. The other module is the GPT content generator, and it works in the same way. So we have here. This time it's not going to paste it automatically into the body. So again, it generates the text, and if I want to use it, I can just click here and it will paste into the body. And these modules, the ChatGPT content generator, provides also the translation. So,
Question.
yeah.
From that view before, just now, when you generate the content, is there, if you click on that, is there a button to regenerate it if you don't like the content?
Let's see.
Does it only generate the same thing?
Yeah.
Because if on OpenAI Playground or on the public version of OpenAI, you could regenerate the response so that OpenAI responded in a different way, still on the same topic but differently.
Okay.
Does it have that feature? If you click generate again,
So,
will it give you the same?
Let's see.
Maybe you want to change your prompt.
Yeah, if I change the prompt, most likely I will do it. So at the moment.
If you use the OpenAI module, the other one, that has like a prompt explorer and that has regenerate.
Yeah.
You can change the temperature. That's something you do in Playground, which changes the randomness of it. So it will be a UI thing. If you want to do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. So then we have the translation here. So this button will translate at the moment the title and the body. So if I click on translate, we'll start the translation.
Actually, while it's doing that, perhaps we could discuss the temperature a little bit more.
Sure. Sure, I will do it. There is a playground as well on this module. So now it has been translated into Dutch. So regarding the playground, so we have the OpenAI, and you have the ChatGPT Explorer. So here we can set a few things here. So we have the temperature, we have the max token, and then we have the profile, so the starting point. For this we can set, as I say, the starting point. So at the moment we are in a Drupal environment, so we say that you are a Drupal developer. And if I ask, for example, how to create a controller, will automatically know that I'm asking about a controller in Drupal. So now we have the Drupal answer. Now I need to reload, and for example, I change it here. For example, I'm using Laravel, and I ask, how do I create a controller? Now it gives me the answer in Laravel. So this is the starting point, the profile. And this can be used on our website to give some instruction for any request that is coming from the site. So now let's play with the temperature. So let's just restart. And we can ask, again, tell me the history of Drupal. So with the low temperature, there will be some kind of predictable answer, really strict. And with a higher temperature, as I said, OpenAI becomes a little bit more creative on the answers. So let's try first like this, with a 0.4. So we got this answer here. Now let's try, let me refresh just in case to clean up this history, and then we put something like 1.5 and see. Gives a different answer. So I never tested the temperature in some way.
Yeah, one thing you can do is you can set it to 2 and it goes insane.
Ah, let's try. I put 1.5 and see.
No, if their version goes up to 2, but you can try it. It goes totally insane.
Hmm?
It goes totally crazy.
Let's try. Let's try. Let's refresh and see. Because 1.5 is already high, but maybe we need something like more that can be more random.
So normally 0 to 1 is the range that you would actually want to do, and anything above 1 is gibberish.
Yeah.
And 0 is purely deterministic.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, we need, I think, some different prompt to make it like more crazy. So because the moment is still in the Drupal side, so. Okay,
Yeah,
it's something.
Goes wild.
Yeah. Okay, too much. Maybe we can do.
Well, so just out of interest, so the overall summary is temperature about the creativity, but in reality, ChatGPT predicts the next token in a sequence, and then it ranks them in a list. And if it's temperature 0, it will always pick the most relevant thing. And if it's temperature more than 0, it will choose one of the ones lower down. So it picks a slightly less likely response next. Which they described abstractly as being more creative, but in reality it's this lower probability of the correct token. So depending on what you're looking for, you may find higher tokens are better, temperatures better.
Yes.
After 1, I think. So most things I've seen only go between 0 and 1. It's only APIs that let you go up to 2. I don't know what the benefit is of 2. It's just 2. At 2 it is just random letters.
Yeah. Usually I use 02 and 04 between those. Yep.
Okay, I've tended to go for 0.7.
Okay.
What about the tokens? How many tokens should you have? Can you explain a bit more about that?
Pardon?
The concept of tokens.
Yeah, the concept of tokens is mainly on price as well, so because token is a price when you make a request, and also is a unit for counting the answers, so how much you want to communicate with the OpenAI. Yep.
I've got a question. If you keep the temperature the same and resubmit the session or the request over and over again, do you get the same response back, or is each response different?
The moment will be the same. So we need to create something maybe more like ChatGPT. So because this is just a request that has been sent and we get a response. If we got something like the ChatGPT, the app, it keeps the session, so it knows that you already asked, and so it's trying to provide a different answer in that case. So we can for example, we can say, give me a different answer from this prompt, because on any request, especially on the chat, what happens is you do the first prompt, you get the response, and when you do the second prompt, it sends as well the history of the conversation, so it knows the context and it can understand better what you're talking about.
You mentioned the search API, search AI stuff. Did you look into that at all?
No.
Okay, we built that, I think. Is it search API _AI?
Yes.
Module?
Yes.
So we worked on that one. So
Okay.
if you ever do look at it, I'm really intrigued to see what you think of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the when you were in the edit form and you have like that option on the sidebar.
Yep.
To suggest like a taxonomy term. is that from a set of like existing vocabularies you have
No.
in Drupal, or is just
No, just new
terms?
vocabulary, yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
for now, there's no way of like saying like this is your vocabulary.
Yes.
The terms closer to your text.
Yes, of course you can. So this part here is experimental. So the just tone, summarize text, and some suggest taxonomy. So what you can do, you can see how is it built, and then you can click on suggest taxonomy. Or you can provide some of your taxonomy, or you can just see which one matches yours, and then you can just assign it.
Okay.
Or you can create taxonomy on the fly.
I see.
Yeah.
Great.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
So one of the things that we were working on is a views ChatGPT module to try and get ChatGPT to generate views. And the idea would be that it would work on the field structure you have on your site. So one of the things is you can tell a prompt of, here's the structure of my site, here's a taxonomy, pick from this. And I think one of the things we want to try and look at with all of these modules is finding an efficient way of telling ChatGPT what our things is. ChatGPT is limited by number of tokens, and that is by far the biggest limit of it doing useful stuff.
I see.
Yeah.
So it's usually 4K, it can go up to 16K, and there is a 32K one. But the tokens is your prompt plus response. So the more information you give it, the less you get out of it. So
Yeah.
if you, and the way tokens work is tokens are a collection of characters and that appear regularly. But if you put a full stop or trailing space, that's a different token to without it. So JSON is really token heavy. So all the tools that we've been using to communicate between sites now that are really good for computers are really bad for AI. Because JSON or YAML adds loads of characters in there.
Helpful stuff. Is there any, I mean, obviously because it's experimental, would there be any way of kind of, I don't know, temporarily saving some of the results and just filter like, I don't know, maybe add like a way of processing the result and then maybe re-asking with a set of like...
Yeah. So there's this tool called LangChain that is all about chaining prompts together. And there's loads of tools within that that are trying to do things like summarize your history into a prompt and then use that to try and break out
So
this.
optimizing a little bit
Yeah.
the whole thing. That's great. Very interesting on the views part, like actually creating views.
Yeah, it can create a view. It can do it sometimes.
Yeah.
If it's one word wrong, it says it gets one word wrong. I'm trying to work on it. Trying to get this one
I
word.
mean, even humans do that.
So as you said, you built the OpenAI module, right?
So I worked with Kevin a little bit.
Okay.
So the main contribution to OpenAI module will be enabled streaming. So instead of having to wait for the whole thing to come in, you see the words come one at a time.
Okay.
Which is really nice for if you're trying to do like 8K tokens.
Yeah.
But our one is the search API AI module.
Okay.
And then the views one is so experimental that it's not
Yes.
possible to org.
Yeah. So these are all the OpenAI suite of modules. So we see we have the level generate, we have the content generator, and many others. So at the moment I just went through the one that I know that they're working properly. So. Any other question?
What new functionalities does the new models of ChatGPT bring along with it? Because I noticed when you were scrolling down, it goes down from 3.5 turbo, and I think there's ChatGPT 4 now. What new models do they bring on?
Pardon, sorry?
You know, the one, when you initially, if you go back and see where it goes model, then it goes ChatGPT turbo. I think it was somewhere before.
Here?
Now, what new features does GPT-4 come with? There's a new version now.
Okay. Now at the moment, okay, is in beta, is in invite only, so I haven't got the access to the GPT-4 yet. Yeah, so I asked for the. You have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 4 is way more advanced at being more human-like than 3. So I'm not a programmer, so I made my first module a couple of months ago where I asked ChatGPT to help me do all the steps. And with 3, it just broke. And then with loop 4, I could actually make a module. The YAML it produces is way better. ChatGPT 3 is really bad at limericks and puns, but 4 can do them. So 4 is a lot more advanced, but 4 is very slow. So like some of my requests take 10 minutes and then time out. 3 is way faster and way cheaper. And then there's this token limit, which is, like I say, token limit is by far the biggest problem at the moment. ChatGPT-3's recent one has a 16K token limit. The 32K one for 4, I know very few people have that. So that's a big difference between the two. But 4 is better in most ways than 3, just slower and more expensive. The other thing is the most recent version of 4 it says it can understand JSON and API calls. So a big thing is like you describe your API to it, and it can write the REST calls between things. That's a big thing. I haven't tested that yet, but that's a big thing that they're pushing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just a segue from you mentioned about using views. Just a use case that we're thinking of is there a way of using the AI to generate a summary in views so that it summarises node content, and then obviously you update that node, you can update the summary automatically, on fly. Is that something that's...
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that can be done. All of this stuff is just we have to make it, so we just have to make modules that can do that. But like, it would take like half an hour to build that functionality using OpenAI. So yeah, like you saw with the translate thing, you could do the same thing with the summary thing, where every single time you do a summary. One of the things we do with the Search API AI module is it's about loading a whole bunch of PDFs into a resource library, and then using ChatGPT to communicate with your resource library, so you can ask questions of it. And one of the things that seems an obvious one that we want to work on is being able to read your PDF and then write a summary for you. And then you could do the same thing with notes. So it was like an obvious thing. It would take half a day to make. It's just, there's so many possible ideas for what we could do with Drupal, and it's a case of where do we start.
So we've got a media library with quite a lot of PDFs, to be honest. That's another use case that I could see being very useful.
Yeah, that one's on Drupal.org. So it's search API _AI, I think it is.
Is that working well?
I mean, yeah, like everything is so experimental. So I think it works really well. Like there's a video on it that shows you the demo of it working. What I'm struggling with is when you look at how we built it, that we're trying to get past this token limit. So there's some things about it that means that the answer it gives is sometimes a bit weird. So working on the prompt engineering to get it so it gives actually genuinely useful answers. I don't know what we need to do that yet. Because I can get it to summarize a PDF really well. I can get it to answer a question about the PDF. But I haven't yet managed to get it to read like a legal document and tell me something I don't know that has blown my mind yet. It's usually only given me a very basic summary of that document.
I've just been using the private version of ChatGPT to actually look at PDFs and do the exact same thing. And it works. I got GPT-4 working, and it's really, really good.
Yeah.
It's astonishing, but it's just locally. It's just running locally. So I'd be very interested to see research. Yeah.
Right.
Just a very small one. You
Yep.
mentioned images before.
Yep.
I don't know what's yet there, like the module experimental or not, like.
There is.
An obvious kind of case where I give an image, it generates my alt text, for example. Is that something that's kind of there experimentally, or like, in the plan somehow of the module?
For the moment, I can generate an image from here, so I can generate something, but this doesn't work really well at the moment. So something like more generic and see what's happening now.
Yeah, your one.
What about
GPT-4?
the other way around?
Yeah, yes.
You can say like, oh, this is a person on a horse, and like actually giving you information about that specific image.
Yeah.
Because I guess it would be a bit like easier for that. I don't know if you know that.
4 can do it behind closed doors, but none of that's released to the general public.
Okay.
I've heard Bing search can do it, but I haven't tried it out myself. But there's the scary thing for developers is OpenAI has given a video where they uploaded a picture of a website, that somebody just drew and it said, write me this website, and it just wrote everything. And somebody built it, so they worked it with their phone, using voice, and they've integrated it with their continuous integration system. So they can look at a website and then tell it, I want you to change it this way, with their voice. And it will write the code, upload it, push it, and then you'll see it in real time just changing.
All right. Yep. Yes.
We're going across to the pub afterwards, so carry on these conversations then. It's probably time to move on to the next
Okay.
talk of you, unless you've got
Sure.
anything specific you want to say.
No, I'm fine. Done. Thanks.
Great. Give us just a couple of minutes to switch people and switch things, and I will just grab another snack or something, and we'll be in a second.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We made some things, but I don't know what is good and actually useful. There's so many possible ideas. You gotta see where the money is. I just had time to things like this. One of those things I really like to talk about it. It's really good show. I'm giving a talk about ChatGPT at Dev Days in Vienna. Oh, really? Cool. I'm here on Friday afternoon as well. So you're just there for the Saturday? So what
Vincenzo, thank you very well. I don't want to put too much burden on you. Would you be able to go straight into your second talk? No, I can talk down. Sorry, just sure. It'll take a few minutes while I'm just going to Dane the second talk. So we're all already slightly overworking the first one. So when you're ready, get it ready for I also don't know how it does
I haven't figured out what level of stuff. So what was so interesting for me was that, like, obviously I've been living day to day in AI for ages. What was interesting was like almost no one in the room. Many of the things they were saying were really cool about like how much knowledge and now there is in the AI space and what level you should pitch things at. Because yeah, like amongst my friends, everyone is in AI in some way. My close friends, everyone.
Yeah, we'll give us There's a lot of people coming from I don't know what's better.
I should have just, told you guys. Do I need to? Oh, okay, perfect. I'll keep it on before I start. It's not the new one. The new ones are it's so similar though. I've got my two junior developers watching on live stream. I hope they're watching. They said they were. I'll plug in in the morning. I'll ask them tomorrow. Pop quiz. Well, they know what of the stuff already, so it's not just for entertainment. Yeah, I'll be careful.
The thing is, like, how many times actually that's the line. Like, how many agency
I don't think I'm going to use it, but make to okay, I'll plug it in now, I just need to get the right thing. I'll plug it in now just to test.
What work we are doing that can actually build this
So I'll switch this. I wanted to duplicate.
That's like, so like what I was like, that's so many things and stuff we can implement with like just find the right one that actually uses the time to,
I want to just match. Oh, that's a high one.
But I'm pretty sure like
I see what that is.
it's more like I think you like on your own, really good to
My team let me just get my notes out.
We're just about ready to go with another talk. You can take your place to your chairs on board.
unplugged it for now, because I was just reading my notes.
Okay.
But okay, we're ready to go. Let's go.
Sorry. Welcome, Dane. Dane is speaking on what he's about to tell you. I've forgotten, and that's stupid.
That's fine.
Great, let's go for it.
All right.
Thank you.
Hi guys, can you all hear me? Oh, am I supposed to?
Right, so hi everyone, my name's Dane. I'm from South Africa. I have a small team over there, and I'm quite new to the UK. I've been in the Drupal community since I started web development about 11 years ago, building lots and lots of sites over the years. Of all the technologies we use to build different sites in different ways, Drupal has always kind of been my favorite. We do use a lot of other things, but Drupal's always been, my thing. I'm going to talk today about quick wins for improved editor experience. And when I talk about editor, I mean the people who are not us, it's our clients and anyone else who's logging in and managing content, adding, deleting, editing content, that kind of thing. All right, so I'm going to use the Umami, standard install as a demo. It is obviously a demo, and I'm going to use it because it's a perfect example of a good starting place for what we're going to do today. I think I've got about 10, a little bit more minutes, so it's going to be quite quick, and I'm going to go straight into it. All right, so I'm logged in here as an admin, and I'm also going to be logged in this tab with the little blue line at the top as a editor. This, in our sites, we always create test users for each role, so that we can log in as each role that we have and make sure that we're seeing what the client sees, and we are comfortable with what they see and what they don't see, obviously, so that they've got a really good experience. So that's the very first thing, make sure we can log in with each. Of course, you can use different, you can use like the masquerade module to switch, but I like to have a different user for each role. All right, so this is the role that comes out of the box, the editor role. Okay, so from an admin perspective, the very first thing that a client sees, let's just look at what they're seeing already when they log in, if you don't make any changes. They're going to see content, and we'll get to that in a minute. They're going to see structure and taxonomy, and whatever taxonomies you've set up. Sometimes configuration, that should be hidden, generally, obviously, by your permissions, so that they can't really edit any of that, even if they found the correct link to that. Obviously, depending on your roles, because some clients are going to be, and some editors are going to be more tech-savvy than others, so you're going to give more permissions to some. All right, and then help always useful. Now, let's take a look at the content one. This is the key part here. So the view that you get out the box, unfortunately it is a view now in newer versions of Drupal. It wasn't always in older versions of Drupal. And then it was like very difficult to edit. It's pretty good. It's all right. It's got a couple of columns. It's better than most content management systems, but it's lacking a lot. So of course we've got our exposed filters up at the top. We've got bulk actions, but these bulk actions are very limited. The key one that we're going to talk about is you can't bulk edit. So that's going to be a great fix that we can add. And then this is, it's a view that's supposed to work for all different content types. But in this case, we've got 3 content types: page, article, and recipes. And this might be fine for pages. Pages have a title and a body. You may or may not add a body column, but that's about it. So there's not much more that you would need for a page as an administrative experience. But if you're going to have multiple different content types, it's going to be really hard for the editors to quickly view and manage content like this. Of course, if you have an e-commerce site, for instance, Drupal Commerce, the views that you get out of the box with Drupal Commerce give you, a picture column and some other like tags columns, the things that you need, a price column. Obviously, that's super helpful, but if you're not using that and you've got your own bunch of custom content types, it's really helpful to have an administrative experience designed for that. So let's just take a quick look at the content type that's built in here. So I talked about articles and pages already. They've got the standard fields, very few of them. Recipes have quite a few fields, so let's just take a quick look. So we've got a number field, some text fields, some more number fields. Entity reference, so these are just a standard reference to other content types. And then you've also got a layout and a media field, which is going to be really helpful. So there's an image field. So ideally, as an editor, when they log in, they shouldn't necessarily see all of this. So the very first thing we're going to do before we even start to work on creating customized views for each content type is to essentially replace the admin menu. There is a pretty useful module for this that's called AM swap or admin menu swap. So I'm going to show you what that looks like now, and then we'll come back to the views. So I've got it installed already. I can't remember what section it falls under. Let's just go to configuration and search for it. Swap. There it is, admin menu swap. It's under system. All right, so what it lets you do is choose a menu and choose for each role. So we've already got a role, editor, but we don't have a menu for it. So let's make a quick menu for them. So we'll call it the same, just to keep it simple, editor. Over there. And that's fine, it doesn't need a summary. All right, now it doesn't have any links in at the moment, but that's fine. Let's go and set it up. So I'm just going to refresh this. So for the role, we're going to choose editor. For the menu, we're going to choose editor and save. Brilliant. Now, I don't know if I need a flush caches. Let's take a look. Right, don't need a flush caches. There's no more the manage menu is gone. It's waiting for us to add some links. So the first thing I do is add links to the things that we do want to keep. Primarily the users page, the taxonomy page, but we're going to rename it because taxonomy is very confusing to most clients, and potentially, if we allow them to, edit the main menu as well. All right, so let's jump to that quickly and add. I don't call it people because in essence they're users of the site. People, if we're using people, that's for a content type that we may display on a sort of team page, for example. So users is more understandable, I think, for most of our clients when we're separating it just people who can log in. So we're going to copy that link and set it up. Users. Save. All right, now let's reload. I think we may have to flush caches, or they don't have permission to edit other users. That could be. Let's check permissions quickly. Editors can cancel. Okay, they can only do their own edit their own accounts. So let's go administer users. Administer. I think that's all we need. Okay, again today. Okay, so they've got the first admin tab. Now I would create two more, but I don't have to go through that process because that's not what we're going to do. But I would normally add one more for the linking to taxonomies, but I call them categorizations because most of the clients understand categories. You've got your tags, your categories, and any other taxonomies. We just call categorizations added in the menu up there for them, so they can jump straight to that. And sometimes we make specific, depending on the site. If the taxonomies are a huge, very important part of the site, and they have many, many, many of them, then instead of just linking to taxonomies and calling categorizations, we'd actually make administrative views for those as well. So then you might have a view for, categories or countries or whatever else that you use. All right, so now let's move into actually creating admin views for specific content types. So we're going to go into views, add view, close the unused tabs. This one is going to be for the recipes, so we'll call it, it's really annoying what it's doing here. Okay, so content type recipe tag, we'll leave that blank. We're going to create a page, administer recipes, that's cool. We'll just follow Drupal's naming structure or URL structure, admin/recipes. We're going to make it a table because it's of course an administrative table of fields. Perfect. We'll show 15. Create a menu link. That is helpful. So you can put it straight into that new menu we just created, which is down there at the bottom. We'll just call it recipes. Save and edit. Okay, now this is where the fun starts. When we actually start adding, for instance, first of all, let's just add all the recipe fields, or at least the ones that are relevant and useful for having here. So the image, for example, cooking time. A lot of the ones that can be shown small make a lot of sense. Maybe not ingredients. Media image, obviously a key one, preparation time. I won't do all of them, but you get the idea. So let's just add those. fine, copy fine, that would be fine. It's a media image. Now this we have to change. Let's make it a thumbnail so it actually shows the image without any too complex of settings. We'll start with a small picture like thumbnail. That's perfect. And separation time is perfect. Okay, now let's just rearrange before we do anything else. Put the image first. Always helpful to have the image as the first column. And that's already helpful. It's already quite a lot better than the content view. But we've only just started. Let's add the date fields that you'd normally see. So, for instance, date added or created, authored on. I never remember these ways they describe it. And edited, I think it's called change. So there we go. And while we're at it, let's also add the links or the operations. Operations links. That one. All right, authored on, that's perfect. We can leave it that format, that's fine. Change, and we'll just call it operations. So this is just the edit and delete operations. Great. So we have an improved version of the standard Drupal view already. Now let's add a couple of other things that are always helpful for clients. When there's a lot of content, you always want in the footer, you want your results summary. Do that with the default settings. So now it tells us 1 to 15 of 20. Perfect. If you have a lot of content, the mini page is not that helpful, so we're going to switch to the full pages. And while we're here, let's just make a couple of other changes. So it's often quite helpful if you have, over 100 items. It's quite helpful for the clients, or let's say they have 5,000 nodes. It's quite helpful for them to choose how many on a page that they want to see. I like to do in multiples of 3. So I got 15, 50, 150, and 500. It's not exactly multiples of 3, but you get the idea. It's quite a helpful way of giving them how many per page that they want to see. Now, one other thing that you'll see on the content page is the big blue button. So it's always helpful to have that, and it'll be specific to our content type that we're making the view of. So I'm just going to copy the HTML, simplest way to do it, and we're going to just edit it. All right, so in the header, let's add a text area. That's not what I need to copy. Get that again. Copying the UL, the link, the list. Copy out of HTML. All right. Okay, so let's just update it. We can take that part out. And we're going to say add recipe. And all we need to do is just also edit the URL. So node add recipe. Fine. So now we should have a button. There we go, add recipe button. Let's just test it. Let's make a new tab. Yep, it opens to the correct form. Perfect. All right, now we're getting there. We also need to add a no results behavior. It's always helpful, especially because they're going to use this exposed, the exposed filters for searching. So, no, wait, that's not there. It's not in the footer. It's no results. So let's just show some text. No recipes at the moment, or whatever you want to say. One other thing for the header, I must remember, you must always tick the display even if the view has no results. So if they were to delete all the recipes, the button would still show up at the top. Otherwise, the button disappears when there's no recipes, and then that's the time you need it the most. All right, lastly, let's just add some exposed filters. So let's say they want to search on difficulty. Difficulty, there we go. We're going to expose it. Take off that, that's not helpful. Is one of, so they're going to be able, they'll see a little select list of difficulties. Great. Now, one more change I would add now. Don't know how much time I have to show you quickly. The views, actually, also, I don't know if. So, I'll just talk to it for now while we wait. The built-in bulk operations of Drupal is good for deleting, unpublishing, publishing, saving. I've never actually used that. Select a whole bunch of nodes and then click save in bulk. I'm sure there's a purpose to it, but I haven't yet discovered it in 11 years of doing Drupal. But the one that it's lacking is bulk edits. So when you need to do bulk edits, the only way the simplest way to do it is using the views block operations module, and along with that, the views block edit module. They go together, and then you can select all and edit. Just out of interest, who has actually used the views block operations, views block edit module before? Okay, cool. So a couple of you, about half of us in the room. I'm going to save that. We're going to take a look. I'm not going to install that module, but I would recommend going to check it out if you haven't. And let's view the page. All right, that's looking good. One more step. Let's take a look at it in the editor role. Is this big enough? It is big enough, yeah. All right, so now we see our recipes up at the top there. Let's click on it. And we have our administer recipes. You can probably take that part out of the name of the page. We've got a big blue add recipe button, and everything that we would need to make it for our editors to be able to quickly see the content they need to see and make their lives a bit easier. And that's about it, at least for what I wanted to show today. Did all of that make sense, or does anyone have any questions? Yes, and then I'll come to you next. Yes. Yeah. So menus are in config, menu items in config. So yeah, you could totally export that. Yeah. And if you use features, you can probably even be packaged as a feature, but I haven't used that in a long time. Since Drupal 7 days. I'll go to you and then you. Yeah.
Particular display modes for content like Gambino.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. I mean, we use display modes always instead of fields, except when it comes to tables, because if it's a table, you have to choose the fields. But we always choose, whenever we're doing views on the front end of content, and it's like on a homepage or any kind of view, unless it's a table, we almost always use display modes. But that doesn't really apply here because it's a table. So, yeah, display modes are really helpful.
Just kind of thinking that, like, say you consider an admin display that's got maybe like 2 or 3 quite closely related content types. You can maybe have like a rendered version of the entity with just, but they're not quite the same fields, but they're very similar fields. So when you're doing that table structure, you can sort of say one column has rendered entity in it. That's then you get a bit more control as to how you're doing stuff out.
That's kind of similar to how Drupal Commerce does it, because you've got your products and then product variations. And in the admin table, if I'm not mistaken, of Drupal Commerce, the column for the variations, I think it shows it as just a little display mode, because it's it's an entity within a single column of your administrative table.
Yeah. So the thing you added, that add a recipe thing, that button.
Yeah.
I think there is another option to add that. You don't have to do HTML. If you are listing one entity, there is a button in header, add entity button, and you can add it.
Oh, is it?
Go there, yeah.
I completely missed that. Let's take a look.
Yeah, there is a option. Add entity, I think. And just search for something like
let's try entity. Is it a rendered entity?
Yeah, it's in that content listing form. It's added in the same way. So if you edit that one, you will find it. So it's
are you talking about a field, or is it?
Yeah. It's a field. Yeah. No, it's not like it's an independent field. Just like normal text, there is a field. So if you go to that content listing view, that button is added via that, not via HTML.
Yes, the standard one is.
Yeah, and that one you can use the same logic there.
Okay.
Only if you have like 2 different content type lists, then you cannot use the default one. Suppose you have one entity type anyone, like user anything, the button we add on top that can by default take the value.
How would you add that button for a custom?
I think there is an option. I'm just forgetting.
Okay.
Yeah, there is an option to do that. Header or footer anywhere.
Yeah. Okay. Let's say that piece. And today we're not really using contextual links or relationships, but using flat views. Any other questions about the administrative menu at the top or anything else that I showed? Cool.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, maybe
Use content.
Come back again.
The CMS without the C.
So there's the context map that's not taking it back. Paragraph or use of
Interact with the external world apps users.
Sorry, miss you.
Data from Microsoft. Provide some editor. You are? But when you edit, when you edit, it doesn't go anywhere. It goes to the external.
Right, we're running out of time already, so Vincenzo is just going to do a shortened version of right now what thank you. And then actually wrap up and we'll do something else. It's cool, really cool, nice meeting.
All right, so in this session, I'm going to talk about integration between Drupal and Next.js. So the agenda is we're going to just explain the differences between progressively decoupled, fully decoupled, and headless. So you can see what is Next.js, and then Next.js for Drupal installation and configuration. Decoupled versus headless. So we have two types of decoupled, which is the progressive decoupled, where the for this example I'm going to use React. So we have the React component within the Drupal theme. So it's React embedded in React, basically, and it's talking to Drupal through the JSON API or any other source, for example. The fully decoupled is when we have a React app talking to Drupal, to an external other application through JSON API or any other source you want. And then we have the headless, when we have a Drupal application and through JSON API is giving content to the rest of the world. It's similar to the fully decoupled. The difference is the approach. On the fully decoupled, we build the front end and the back end together. So the back end is built thinking about the front end, how it's going to look like, what will they need. While the headless is just building the back end and providing all the contents. And then the other apps, so for Alexa app or React app or anything else, can use as they want. Next is a JavaScript library, and it's building for building interactive user interface, and it gives you the building blocks to build a web application. Building blocks includes the user interface, how the user uses the application, routing, how it navigates between the pages, data fetching, how it gets data, rendering, how it shows it, and then integration, we're going to see the Drupal one, and then the structure, so how you deploy, where you deploy, and then developer experience. The Next.js project structure includes a configuration, environment configuration files, the next configuration, the node modules, the packages, the pages folder, which contains all the routes, the public folder, which is the folder that contains all the static HTML, styles, which contains CSS, and then the TypeScript config if the project is using TypeScript. Page routing, so the Next use the file-based system routing. It means that if I create a file under the pages folder, then it will be available as well. In this example, I have about us. So if I do my site /about us, I will see the content of this file. Otherwise, I can create also nested routes. So I have in this case another folder articles with an index. So if I go to my site /articles, I will see the content of the index. I also can have dynamic routes, so I don't know the path of the route, so it will be automatically generated. I can use the brackets and then put some reference here, some parameters, so in this case drag. So then it will be a system within the file that will provide the right data. Even if I don't know the full path structure, I can use the spread operator. So in this case, it will get any routes that will want be about us or articles or the index. And in this case, the index here is the index of the application. So it would be like blogs slash generated blogs or anything else that is not listed here. So next generates also the static files. It means that the HTML is generated on build, so that this makes the application faster, and it can be done with or without data. Without data, we just provide the data inside the file, so we just write, for example, in this case, about us, and then the content of the page. With data, we can fetch data from an external source, and this can be done, for example, this can be done on our example, where we get content from Drupal, and we need to use one function, or two, depending on the case. So we have the get static props or the get static path. So the get static props gets all the content for the page. So here we have the function that shows the page. So we have a list of posts, and the post comes from the get static props. So we fetch the post URL, we get the response, and then we return the prop. Within the props, we return the posts, and then we have the title, and we show the list. If we want to build the pages, so we don't know all the path for all the pages, we need to use dynamic routes, and this can be done also using the get static path. So we get all the posts ID in this case using get static path, and then we return the parameters. So they use the path within an object, and then we have the fallback. In this case, if it's false, so if it's not found, we will return a full page. And this will be the full page. So we have the page post that renders the content in a single post. We get static path, which is what we saw before. And here we are passing the parameters. The parameters are coming from get static path, and we are fetching, in this case, the post with the ID1. And then we return the props with the post inside. Sometimes we don't need to generate this the HTML, where we need to get the data on the fly when the page loads, and this can be done with the server-side render. And of course, it will be enabled by performance syntax. So we have in this case, we have the get server-side props. So this request will be done on each page load, while the get static props will be done on the build. So when you build the application, we call the get static props. When you load the page, you get server-side props. And we're doing the same request, post, and we'll return the post as well. So how we can communicate with Drupal? Drupal provides the set of modules for web services. So we have the RESTful web services, serialization, JSON API, and HTTP basic authentication. Those are in core. So to do the Next.js for Drupal, Next.js for Drupal provides everything that we need to build the front end. So it has the JSON API clients, data fetching, the add, delete option for content, the translation, the authentication, the multi-site, and the security support as well. So in a Drupal environment, we install Drupal Next module, and it provides the following modules. So the couple router, which basically adds with the path alias, path auto, which generates the path auto, path alias, and then we have simple auth, which use auth2 for authentication, and then sub request that manages more requests at once. We need to apply some patch to sub request to avoid caching, and then to the couple route to make it available for other languages. Then we install the module Next.js JSON API. We can configure path auto. Then we can use the basic starter from chapter 3, and then we can just create Next.js app, and then we add the Drupal base URL and the image domain. The Next for Drupal module on the Next.js side comes with the some API. So for example, here we have the get resource collection, which basically we say we want all of the articles, and with this we call all the articles with using get resource collection with the pass as props. We can get single resource, so we can say which content type is, which type, and then the UID. And as well for translation, we can say we want in Spanish, the default letter is in English. We can get again the same thing, so we get static path from context, so we pass in the context and we get the set application type. And then again is the getting resources from a context. So once static path has been generated, you can get the resources from that the response from the get static path. It's been a bit faster, but we are running out of time. So anyway, if you want to see a demo, you can also run through the ChatGPT documentation. So we can create the Umami demo. So we install Umami in Drupal. We do again the patches. We install other modules like the just API menu modules. Then we install the Umami demo. And it's going to install the just API views, the menu items, the just API next. Then we can clone the Umami example from chapter 3. Again, we do the environment. And then, in this case, we can enable authentication using a simple load. So we generate the keys, we create a new secret, and then we paste it into the local. In this case, now the Next.js application can call into Drupal and use the keys. Okay, so this has been done using Next.js. Any questions? Yes. Oh, yes. I use it and I haven't had any issue. Didn't have any issue. Okay. I didn't have any issue at the moment.
Next, Jess. Is it, if the content's updated on the Drupal site, is that reflected immediately?
Using when you get the props now, you need to basically have some job that is going up the Next.js application.
Oh, right. So out of the box, you still have to refresh the page?
Yeah.
Okay.
What about your sort of pros and cons of this versus sort of other popular headless solutions like Gatsby, for example?
So the pros and cons of?
Pros and cons of Next.js Drupal versus say something like Gatsby, which is doing a similar kind of stuff.
They're both React based, and Next maybe there's a bigger thing in the Gatsby at the moment. So this could be just the resources and this much difference based.
Yeah, and if we draft develop, so not everybody like that, but people like I don't like that because I need Next.js. So, no, like simple.
I'm sure there's others, but I think that for me, like what I found interesting about it is it sort of solves a lot of problems that you have in just building like a Next.js. With React, Next.js seems to solve a lot of problems there. So in terms of server-side rendering, anyway, yeah, it's quite involved topic, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good things about Next.js just by itself, and then how it compares to other distributed systems or headless systems, I'm not entirely sure.
It's like a comment, but also I'd love to hear your perspective on it. The thing about building decoupled we'll just call it decoupled solutions with Drupal
is that you ultimately end up kind of looking after and building two separate apps that are now closely coupled and talking to each other, but it's two separate apps or platforms. And so the benefit you're getting obviously is like especially if you're using rendering, server-side rendering, then you're getting very snappy page loads because the pages are all pre-rendered. And then obviously that impacts on SEO because you've got super fast performance, so that's good for SEO. However, the downside is that huge dev overhead of needing to look after now two different systems that are in different languages, completely different, often different. You'll have different developers. One will be comfortable and familiar with Drupal, and then you'll need a separate one. Usually not always, but often you'll need a separate person who's comfortable with a JavaScript framework and front end there. So it's interesting, to figure out at what point it makes sense, where the time that you spend building and maintaining those two separate applications, if that and the performance gain you get actually outweigh just spending that additional time on just tweaking Drupal and caching and all the other things that go with it. There is definitely a point at which it makes sense when your site that performance and those features are necessary and you have the team. But it's like how big or how complex or how at what point do you choose to go that route of okay, let's now build it as decoupled.
Yeah, it always depends on the project and the benefit. Yes, benefit against cost and everything. So it would be a huge answer. So it's a huge topic. So.
Just one more. We're feeling much running out of time. So there's a lot more time to chat in
just about following on from that thing, I'm not a developer, so I don't know much about it, but I've heard about Alpine.js as a nuller route, where it's more like a souped up version of jQuery. Do you have any thoughts about that kind of stuff compared to Next.js?
No, not at the moment.
Okay. That would be nice as a meaning that we wouldn't have to do two completely separate apps, as you were talking about, if there was something out there that was like a better version of jQuery. But okay.
It's another version of jQuery, but React. I mean, if you're using React, then probably consider using Next.js, and then you need a backend. Certainly, Drupal ticks a lot of boxes, but yeah, I mean, there's a Next.js channel on Drupal.org, on Slack, and there's a few people there who launch sites using Next.js and Drupal, and obviously I think the umami sort of demo is quite impressive. Because you've got a lot of functionality there, so you can anyone can use that really as a starting point, but it also works with web form, for example, so you might be constrained by what you can do with web form out of the box. But yeah, as you were saying, it's certainly the complexities. I mean, goes up a notch, doesn't it? You've got to think about both sides of the coin, but certainly some use cases it makes a lot of sense.
Great, thanks, Vincenzo.
Yeah.
Right, so just bear with us for a minute or two. You've got that slide up, that's great. I'm attempting to do the streaming and going to talk to you in a moment. So first of all, thanks very much everyone for coming. There's probably really all I want to do is prompt us with a few things that might give us something to talk about in the pub or beyond. First obvious topic is what do we do for the future? We've got a new team here that's been organising things. I think we've got away with the first evening somehow, and there's lots of scope to either be involved yourself. I mean, thank you to all the speakers who have spoken tonight. There's lots of opportunity for anyone else around the community to be involved, either to speak or to help, but even just to give us ideas for, give us your thoughts on what you're looking for in the coming months. We're planning a meetup probably on a Tuesday every month for as long as we can manage it. That's certainly one thing we can have a chat about in the pub, or feedback any way you like. That's great. The other thing I just wanted to bring up, which we can talk about in the pub or wherever, some of you will have known Nigel Milligan, and it's not my laptop. And Nigel was very much involved with running show and tell meetups for the last several years. Prior to lockdown, he was very much involved for. He's been in the Drupal community for 10 years or more in London, and has been engaged in all sorts of stuff, and has helped to organise the Drupal show and tell meetups with me and a couple of other people. And sadly, he's suffered from. He had bowel cancer initially, and then it went downhill, and he passed away earlier, 8th of April, as you can see. I just want to pay a brief tribute to him for those of you who know him. This was a show and tell meetup. 2018 seems a long while ago now, but the few photos that I sort of could dig out in a hurry. This was Nigel. This is Nigel hosting, leading, while I'm giving a bit of a talk. I think we've just been to Darmstadt, and you see another picture of that in a moment. And then Nigel himself gave a talk. We didn't have a big screen that day, we just had a largish TV. This is Nigel in Darmstadt, where we went for the Europe DrupalCon in 2018. And as many of you who knew him would know, he was just a great character. He never talked about his own problems. Even those of us who were quite close to him didn't really realise just how bad stuff had got over the recent year or so. It was a shock to us to find that we'd lost him. These are also very common pictures of Nigel. He usually had a glass of beer in his hand. That would be Nigel in his normal position. And a few of us had the privilege of attending his funeral in May, shortly after he passed away. We've got a rack full of memento that people had pulled together. And I think the most surprising thing about his funeral was he wasn't just a Drupal person. That there were 3 or 4 of us Drupal people who had gone along, but most of the people at his funeral were actually football supporters for some strange little town on the Scottish border or something. I can't remember what it's called now. It's never heard of them, sort of thing. But Nigel apparently was a great football supporter and loved them. So we're just saying thank you to Nigel for everything he did for us, and we will miss him. Oh, I've got another slide there. His legacy. This is not really his whole legacy. I mean, he's left a lot in terms of what he's given to the community. But he does still have his website. Badzilla was one of his several nicknames. Badzilla.co.uk is still up and running, though we don't know for sure how the hosting of that is arranged. And I have taken a copy of it from the extra, screen scraped a copy of it so that we will keep, because there's a lot of fantastic material there that he wrote. He mostly worked on the DevOps side of things in more recent years. And there's all sorts of great stuff on his website, if you care to have a look, Badzilla.co.uk. And I've then also, just down in this corner, got a little quote that he gave he did a show and tell talk several years ago, and I couldn't quite find the actual reference, but Nigel said this was his favourite all-time IT quote. There are 2 hard things in computer science: cache invalidation, naming things, and off-by-1 errors. Which hopefully you can see the funny side of. So that was Nigel, and we'll miss him deeply, as I say. And so finally, I'll just close by telling you we're all heading down the White Cross tap, which any of us should be able to find. It's basically 3 diagrams across the bottom, out the door, turn right, walk about 100 yards, turn right again, it's there. Hopefully nobody will get lost. We will lead the way if necessary if anybody's too frightened. The QR code actually works, even though it was screen scraped. Yeah, great. Thank you very much for coming this evening. It's been an experimental thing. Thank you. And hopefully there will be many more meetups like it to come. So thanks all for coming and making this possible.
Nice to see you. Good talk. I'm going to be upstairs and
Close the screen, Good try, thank you.